You let the phone ring, not because you are trying to be rude, because an unknown number does not feel neutral anymore. It could be work. It could be a bank. It could be a scam. It could be someone selling something. It could be a real emergency. It could be a fake one. So you pause. That pause is easy to miss from the outside. It does not look like rebellion. It does not look like confidence. It does not look like a big life decision. It looks like a tired person standing in a hallway after a long day, watching a phone vibrate and deciding not to let the world enter immediately. But that pause says something about where modern life has moved. Access has become one of the everyday fights now. Who gets access to your time? Who gets access to your attention? Who gets access to your family? Who gets access to your child? Who gets access to your data, your body, your evening, your sleep, your energy? For years, the public story was simple. More access meant more freedom. Flexible work, faster contact, open platforms, smart devices, frictionless services, always-on connection. The world told us that if everything could reach us faster, life would become easier. Some of it did become easier. But ordinary people are starting to behave as if too much access is not freedom. It is exposure. You see it at work first. Someone gets a message after dinner. They read it. They know they could answer in 10 seconds. They know the answer would be useful. They also know that if they answer tonight, the evening becomes part of work again. So they leave it until morning. That sounds small, but small boundaries matter when work has learned how to enter the evening without knocking. In parts of Europe, the right to disconnect is no longer just soft well-being language. Luxembourg has been moving toward real employer duties around digital disconnection. With sanctions approaching in 2026, the point is not that every late message is abuse. The point is simpler. If a workplace can reach you everywhere, then the boundary cannot depend only on your private guilt. It has to become part of the structure. Gallup's latest global workplace data points to something many people already feel in their body. Only 20% of employees worldwide were engaged in 2025. That number can sound like management language, but it is also a daily life signal. It is the person who still shows up, still answers, still performs, still smiles in the meeting, but protects tiny pieces of energy like emergency supplies. It is the worker who does the job, but no longer wants the job to have unlimited access to the inside of life. For many men, this pressure often does not come out as boundary language. It comes out as behavior. They stop volunteering for every extra task. They mute the group chat. They do not pick up the shift unless the money actually makes sense. They sit in the car for 5 minutes after work before going inside. Not because they hate home, but because they need a small airlock between being useful and being human. The old masculine contract still has power. Be reachable, be useful, handle it. Do not make your limits everyone else's problem. A man can be close to burnout and still call it being busy. He can be deeply tired and still say it is just work. He can feel the job leaking into his sleep, patience, body, and family life, but still hesitate before saying no because saying no feels like becoming unreliable. That is not an excuse. It is the pattern. For many women, the access question often arrives through visibility. Who can message me? Who can look at me? Who can demand emotional labor from me? Who can turn my image, tone, face, clothes, reply speed, or silence into a public judgment? The online world keeps proving that this is not paranoia. A Barnardo survey reported in The Guardian found that nearly 1 in 5 UK girls had received repeated unwanted images online. The same reporting described girls being asked to send nude images, degrading language, becoming part of online life, and boys feeling pressure to act hard, perform masculinity, and avoid challenging sexist behavior because it may cost them status. That contrast matters. Girls learn to restrict access. Boys learn not to break the room. One side pays through safety and visibility. The other pays through character and silence. Both lose something human when the norm says, this is just how online life works. Children are where the access fight becomes hardest to ignore. Ofcom's 2026 research found that 73% of UK children aged 11 to 17 had seen or heard some form of harmful content online in a 4-week period. At the same time, many children still say they feel safe and happy on social media and messaging services at least most of the time. That is the messy part adults often miss. A child can feel fine inside a system that is still shaping them too aggressively. So parents become border control. They check apps. They ask what happened in the chat. They try to understand who their child is talking to. They negotiate screen time. They try to separate normal friendship from algorithmic pressure. They want their child to have a social life, but not a private door into every stranger. Feed, trend, image, challenge, humiliation loop, grooming pattern, and dopamine trap on Earth. That is not helicopter parenting. That is the new version of care. Denmark's move toward mobile-free schools and after-school settings fits this wider shift. The public language is about concentration and community, but the behavior underneath is more concrete. Remove the device from the room so the child does not have to fight the feed alone. That is not anti-technology. It is anti-boundaryless access. The same tension appears in Europe's age verification push. The European Commission says its age verification app is meant to help people prove their age without sharing unnecessary personal data. That is the right problem to work on. Children need protection. Adults need privacy. Platforms need responsibility. But there is an uncomfortable truth here. Child safety can become the cleanest moral language for building more identity checks into ordinary internet use. That does not mean age verification is wrong. It means the standard has to be strict. Protect children without turning every adult into a permanently verified data object. Safety without privacy becomes control. Privacy without safety becomes abandonment. The adult answer is not to hide inside a slogan. Then there is fraud, the kind that makes trust feel more expensive. The FTC reported that imposter scams remained the #1 scam category for the 9th year in a row, with more than 1 million reports in 2025 and reported losses rising to $3.5 billion. That changes ordinary behavior. People stop answering unknown numbers. Families create code words. Parents tell their children, if someone says, "I am in trouble, call me directly." Workers double-check payment requests. Older people are told not to trust urgency. Everyone learns to slow down at the exact moment the scam wants them to speed up. AI makes that heavier because one of the oldest proofs of intimacy is getting weaker. A familiar voice used to mean something. Now a voice can sound right and still be wrong. A message can have the right tone and still be fake. A profile can look warm and still be engineered. This is not only cybersecurity, it is emotional security. The cost is that people become more guarded in places where trust used to be automatic. That is sad, but it is also sane. A similar shift is happening at work with data. Reuters reported that an internal meta tool designed to collect detailed computer usage data from US employees to train AI models raised concerns because it tracked things like mouse movements, clicks, navigation, clipboard content, and code changes across many apps and websites. Meta said there were safeguards. But the employee reaction matters because the signal is bigger than one company. The workplace question is changing. It is no longer only, did you do the work? It is becoming, can the system watch enough of you to prove it? That changes the body at the desk. People self-monitor. They move more carefully between windows. They perform busyness. They stop treating the work computer as a tool and start treating it as a witness. The boss may call it productivity, security, AI training, risk management, or compliance. The worker experiences it as access, not access to the result, access to the process, access to behavior, access to tiny movements. This is where the pretty story breaks. Modern life keeps selling frictionless as progress, but friction is sometimes what protects dignity. A closed door is friction. Office hours are friction. A password is friction. A school phone box is friction. A slow reply is friction. A no number callback is friction. A no is friction. Remove too much friction, and ordinary people become easier to reach, easier to measure, easier to manipulate, easier to interrupt, easier to shame, easier to sell to, and easier to exhaust. The uncomfortable truth is that some boundaries cannot survive as personal preferences. They have to become rules, routines, architecture, defaults, and sometimes law. Telling people to just set boundaries is weak when the systems around them are built to cross those boundaries for profit, speed, convenience, engagement, or control. But there is a positive truth here too. People are not simply collapsing, they are adapting. They are muting chats. They are refusing late replies. They are teaching children verification habits. They are asking schools to create phone-free space. They are pushing for the right to disconnect. They are questioning whether every safety tool should also become a surveillance tool. They are learning that a pause can be care, not coldness. Self-respect in 2026 does not always look like a quote on a wall. Often, it looks like not opening the app. It looks like leaving the work message until morning. It looks like saying to a child, "Show me who that is." It looks like telling a parent, "If I ever call asking for money, hang up and call me back." It looks like putting the phone outside the bedroom. It looks like asking why a company needs to watch mouse clicks to trust a worker. That is the sharp contrast right now. Publicly, we still praise access as freedom. Privately, people are building gates. And that difference matters because it tells us where reality has moved. The problem is not connection itself. The problem is connection without consent, work without edges, safety without privacy, flexibility without rest, childhood without protected space, trust without verification. For men, the next boundary may be learning that usefulness is not the same as unlimited availability. For women, it may be refusing the idea that visibility means open access. For parents, it may be accepting that love now includes technical and social gatekeeping. For workers, it may be realizing that professionalism does not require becoming permanently reachable or permanently watched. None of this needs to become panic. Panic makes bad rules. Naivety makes worse ones. The calmer direction is this: build human limits back into modern life. That is how dignity is reclaimed here. Not by disappearing, not by becoming hard, not by treating every message, person, tool, school, platform, or workplace as an enemy, but by rebuilding the gate. A person is not a feed. A child is not a market. A worker is not a stream of behavioral data. A familiar voice is not proof anymore. A phone is not neutral just because it fits in a pocket. And access is not automatically care because someone says it is for your own good. The next version of dignity may be less glamorous than people expected. It may simply be this: who gets in, when, how much, and at what cost? Then having the calm to answer before the world answers for you.